is.
What, over in?
No, I'm going, can you all hear me? Nobody would answer me, so I don't know if I was on or not. Yeah, I don't know who that is. But could you hear me? Okay. Let me see if anybody answers me real fast. Thank you. Okay.
Well, we can hear you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
We're good now. Is everyone here?
You can distract by your own face.
Yes.
Okay, William, are you here? I see a picture of you. Oh, there you are.
Yes,
I think that's Robert. Don't see Robert. Does anybody else see Robert? Oh, there he is. Yeah, I think that's everybody. Daniel. See Robert? Yeah, there's Daniel. Okay. All right. I'd like to start with the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in prayer. Eternal God, out of whose absolute power and infinite intelligence the whole universe has come into being, we humbly confess that we have not loved thee with our hearts, souls, and minds. We have all too often lived by our own selfish impulses rather than by the life of sacrificial love. We often give in order to receive. We love our friends and hate our enemies. We go the first mile, but dare not travel the second. We forgive, but dare not forget. God, have mercy on us. Forgive us for what we could have been but failed to be. Give us the intelligence to know your will. Give us the courage to do your will. Give us the devotion to love your will. In your name and spirit we pray. Amen. Now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the republic for the flag, which stands United States of America, one nation,
to the
under
republic,
God, indivisible,
Thank
with liberty and justice for all.
you for all.
We'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk for the roll.
Magistrates Constantopoulos,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Graham,
Present.
Elkins,
Present.
Davis,
Present.
and Blanton. And Judge Pace.
Present. Seems we have a quorum. We'll now move to adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a second. A motion made by Magistrate Constantopoulos, seconded by Magistrate Elkins.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Judge, a couple things. Do we not have any transfers? That's a good thing if we don't, but I just want to make sure.
See here.
Not on the agenda.
Cheryl?
I'm coming.
Okay. Did you submit any transfers today?
No, sir. None were necessary.
Okay.
I also noticed public comments not on there. I don't have any public comment, but I didn't know if anybody else did. So.
Well, I think that was just a Scrivener's error. The chat box is still available for public comment.
That's all I got.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the agenda respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6, consider approval of the minutes from the August 12th, 2020 fiscal court meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 7, review of the treasurer's report. Do you have any questions or comments?
I do, Judge.
Okay,
Is she available?
I'm right here.
yes, she is.
Okay. First thing I noticed the usual second page that we get is not there. Was it omitted, or we just changed the way we're doing it, or it's usually the financial statement fiscal year to date?
I tried to duplicate everything I saw in the June 30th report. So if I missed something, it was not intentional.
Okay.
That's something I can
Probably
look.
this one being the first of the fiscal year, you wouldn't need a year to date.
Could be.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably in the programming, but I don't know that for sure.
Ms. Dilla was helping me and as best as we could come up with looking at the June, we thought that I had everything that was necessary, but I'll be glad to
This
take.
is the page that was in the June report. It's the second page. I don't know if you can see it or not, but
No, not really, but
the page I'm talking about. But no big deal. That makes sense as to why it might not be there with it being the first month of the fiscal year.
well, if you don't mind at some point in time to bring one of those by that I could make a copy of and we can make sure that it's included from here on out.
You should have it. It's the second page of the June 30th report. So it's been on every report that I've ever seen.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Next thing I had is on the bank reconciliation statement. I believe it is the first page. If you add up the outstanding checks, it comes to 72,441.07, but you've got 65,820.41.
That's what it was showing when we added those up. Ms. Dillo was helping me.
So if you go to each page individually that lists the, for instance, the general fund where it says outstanding checks of 43,977.05. You add that up for each separate checking account, it comes up to 72,441.07, but you've got 65,820.41 on the front page.
I'll have to look at that. There shouldn't be an error, but that could have something to do. There was a problem. There were 2 checks that I wrote that came out of the general account that should have come out of the special reserve to the city of Winchester. They are on that one, but they cleared the bank that they were totaled $6,620.66.
That goes into my next question, because on the general fund bank reconciliation statement, you've got a CD balance of 6620.66.
That's what that is. That's how Ms. Dillo said, because I was not aware that I should have grabbed checks, the 2 checks from that special reserve account, and I printed it on the general account checks. I pulled 2 out of there. So that's where that money cleared the bank.
So it's not a CD, correct?
Correct. That is how she said that we would need to document it, show it in both places so that the explanation could be given. And I've also got 2 checks upstairs that she had me print out of the special reserve account and document that I had made that error and write on them so that we would have paperwork to back everything up as well.
Okay, and we've got a separate checking account for each of these now, correct?
Yes, sir. And that money, all those monies were transferred by cashier's checks on August the 14th. That's when I finally got a copy of the executed order authorizing how much was to go to each account, where it was to come from. And I've got all that documented. So if you would need to see that too.
Did these ending balances, did they come directly from the bank statement?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Did these ending balances, did they come directly from the bank statement?
At the top portion of that reconciliation page, yes, sir.
Okay. And then the checking account balances don't match the fund balances. Can you explain that to me?
Because the money had not been transferred then at that point. I was getting this all taken care of and getting this balanced to the judge. And then I went after that and did the transfers from the different accounts into the fund accounts.
Are you talking about as of 7/31?
No, that was done on 8/14.
The ending bank balance doesn't match the fund balance. Is your answer still accurate there?
You were breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Your ending bank balance does not match the fund balance as of 7/31. Is your answer still the same?
The ending bank balance, we're at that page, it's got 4,303,164.25. Is that what you're referring to, Travis?
For instance, on the general fund, it says the ending bank balance at the end of the month was $1,665,394.58. But the fund balance on the first page is significantly different.
One of them's gonna be 8/14 and the other one's gonna be 7/31.
That's not what it says. It says July 31st.
Those, I would have to go upstairs and grab the book, but those, see, the general fund, at that point in the time, the general fund, if you look back on there, the general fund had, was all in one account, and there were several funds within that still. In that,
I think I'm losing you. So the general fund as of 7/31/2020, you're showing an ending bank balance of $1,665,000 and some change. But on the front page, dated the same date, 7/31/2020, you're showing a general fund balance of $3,499,000. I'm curious why there's such a big difference there.
because at that point in time, the account balances, the road, not everything had been transferred. The general fund balance on that reconciliation page, the reconciliation statement, that's what should have been in just the general fund.
Agreed.
We had not, because
But you
we,
have each fund listed on the front page as well, individually.
right, because there was some money in some of those funds based on deposits and checks that had come in through the month. But the monies had not been transferred from the general fund, the community trust accounts, and the Kentucky bank accounts at that point in time. So there was more money in the general fund bank account. It wasn't all general fund money. That balance is just what was in that checking account, which included some road fund money. Let's see, included some road fund money, some jail fund money, and special project
And
fund.
you're saying you made those transfers on August the 14th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this month's treasurer's report, those balances should match. Is that correct?
Keep my fingers crossed. I'm still learning, but that's what I'm planning on or hoping for. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Next thing I had was the general fund expenditures showed $860,918.69. But on the vendor expenditure list that we have, it shows $945,164.18. Can you explain that difference? That's for the general fund.
I'm looking.
It's also off on the road fund and the jail fund as well.
Well, this may have to do with things being different. And in all honesty, balancing this first month, I could not have done it without Ms. Dillo because I was totally unschooled on how to use that portion of the software. The software was brand new to me and I didn't have access to it until I was officially appointed because I didn't want to cross any barriers until I was officially the treasurer. So I didn't touch anything.
Can you look into that question for me and get back with me, not in the meeting, but after the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, ma'am, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 8, consider approval of the bills list. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Good one. I only see one thing. I think it is going back through to make sure that it's only one, but on the first page, under the Clark County Fiscal Court, I just question if the payment to the city of Winchester in the amount of $2,409.22, is that actually the fourth quarter or the second quarter payment of that fire station expense?
I would have to look at the actual PO to tell you for sure. I don't know if perhaps Cheryl has got that, but I do know that the city has notified me their billing's been a little bit off.
That was for the $2,409.
Yeah, $2,409.22. $0.22, Cheryl. It's listed as fourth quarter.
It is fourth quarter of 20.
Okay, it'd be the Winchester fourth quarter then, correct? Not our fourth quarter.
That's what I'm assuming. That's what I put on there just based on what they had on their letter. They said fourth quarter fiscal year 20 expenses for Fire Station 2.
Okay, just curious about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion also carries. Item number 9, a note in your minutes, pay increases as authorized by the CCFC Administrative Code Compensation Plan Number 7B. Increases will be effective the first payroll in September of 2020. Item number 10, consider approval of an order of allowance to the Board of Assessment Appeals for the Clark County Fiscal Court to pay 1/2 of the compensation to Jana Smith, John Wilson, and Les Dixon for their services in the hearing appeals and reviewing tax assessments for 2020. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
A second.
Michelle, since you're on here, why was it half? Did they only work half a day, I guess?
No, the fiscal court pays half and then you all,
Okay.
you all pay the whole thing. You pay the $100 to each one of those. And then you all have to get the other half compensated back from the state.
Okay. Now we know.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And next we have item number 11, consider approval of the first reading of an ordinance relating to the repealing of the firearms provisions of ordinance number 2009-08. Do I have a motion?
Elkins.
It was Elkins and Constantopoulos.
Yes, thank you.
Any discussion?
Might, Judge, just because there is some question about this, have asked the county attorney to give a brief explanation of this.
William, you need to unmute.
Good evening. Well, I don't remember the exact timeline, but some members will probably recall that at one time the Parks Board had posted signs in compliance with their rules that possession of firearms in city and county parks was prohibited. That rule, the legislation relied on for that local regulation didn't meet constitutional muster. And at some point in time, in reaction to that legislation being struck down, the Parks Board eventually removed the unlawful possession of firearm signs from county and city parks. But that still left the regulation in place, and although in spirit it wasn't being practiced or used, it still needed to be formally amended. It's been before the Parks Board, I think, for a number of months, where the plan was to develop a more comprehensive amendment to the Parks Board regulation that might also capture other topics such as alcohol use or uses or prohibitions in the park. But because that work seemed to have been delayed, it was just important that as a local government that we got to our part and our responsibility where we were at least textually impacting the Second Amendment and get that off our books. So this ordinance is being proposed to bring local Clark County ordinances in line with the Second Amendment and the Constitution.
Thank you, William.
Thank you for that explanation. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
A comment.
Go ahead.
First, let me apologize. My internet connection is terrible, so maybe, and I'm also on the phone, so maybe Tab could let me in there, might be better. But I agree with Mr. Elkins that the signs have been changed several years ago, but this is a joint ordinance and should probably be a joint amendment since the ordinance was initially a joint ordinance as well.
I don't think we're amending. I think we're repealing.
Well, let me, if Robert, can you hear me?
Robert? I don't think he can hear you.
Well, let's give him a minute because I think we're required to get him connected before we move on. So.
I've
So
unmuted his phone.
Okay, can you hear me on the phone now?
Yes. Mute your computer.
Okay, let me do that. Yeah, my computer's muted. Okay. So I think William said something I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I was gonna answer or respond to what you suggested. I don't disagree that a joint repeal of the joint regulation would be the best of all worlds. But I think anybody associated with the topic knows that that idea has been ongoing for some time. The reality is that there are proactive groups who want to see this done quicker. And so we're just making a quick fix here on our part. We can still take up joint work on the joint ordinance at the appropriate time, but for relieving our responsibility where the Constitution's involved, I'm just hoping we take care of that tonight.
Okay, well,
Robert, if it gives you any comfort, Robert, I spoke with the mayor about this prior to the meeting, and he agreed that it was something we should go ahead and move forward on, and I would expect that the city may go ahead and just on this particular provision move forward as well, although I can't guarantee that.
Okay, well, I think we're all in agreement that it hadn't been enforced for some time, and it is a joint ordinance, so we can, I mean, this other thing isn't muted. Hold on. Okay, I think that's better now. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about the confusion, but okay, that's fine. I think that answered my question. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries. Item number 12, consider approval of the first reading of an ordinance relating to the amendment and revision of the Clark County Administrative Code. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Constantopoulos and Davis. Discussion?
Judge,
Yes.
if so willing, I know that June's the only time we could add it, but I would like to offer up one friendly amendment while we're addressing this. And I know we talked about this last year or something, and we didn't get it changed. But on page 18 of the admin code, right below number D, if we could add E with the following statement. The Clark County Fiscal Court utilizes direct deposit to deliver payroll. Employee pay will be electronically deposited directly into a checking account, savings account, or payroll processing account designated by each employee. Direct deposit accounts must establish with the financial institution that supports direct deposit, and then participation in direct deposit will be a condition of employment. For current employees not utilizing direct deposit must enroll by October 26, 2020. And want to streamline that process where everybody's going direct deposit, because when we do payroll, we're putting that into a payroll account, which is supposed to be a sweep. And so when you're putting it in an electronic deposit, then when the payroll company takes that money out for direct deposit, it'll go to zero. Where now we have checks going in there and they could stay there for 1-2 months without being cleared. And then there's money in that account, which is not being reconciled because it's supposed to be intended a sweep account. So this won't be any additional cost to the county or to the
Well, two things, Daniel. First of all, are you sure you got the page right on that?
Not on the current.
Didn't match mine. I had on the one that was emailed to me was on page 18. Above.
I think you may not have the most recent one.
Page 18, holidays and vacations.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
Go under compensation there where it says, see what page it's on, Magistrate Thompson there. The compensation plan is attached on Exhibit A. towards the end, Daniel?
Yeah, let me,
Can you tell us what other section it's near?
near holidays, right above holidays. I'm pulling the most recent one up here again. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what it says at the top of page 18. The compensation plan is attached as Exhibit A.
Yep. Then it goes into holidays.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at, 18, and below that section D there, create E. That would follow, if you look at page 17, it says.
Oh, you want to create a 5.25 section E. That's what I see what you're doing now. A section 5.25 paragraph E.
Yes.
Okay, so at the very top of the page, under D, you want to insert an E.
E, correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a copy of what you said out loud that you could provide Janet and the clerk?
Absolutely.
Can you read it back one more time for the court?
Yes. The Clark County Fiscal Court utilizes direct deposit to deliver payroll. Employee pay will be electronically deposited directly into a checking, savings, or payroll processing account designated by each employee. Direct deposit accounts must be established with a financial institution that supports direct deposit. Participation in direct deposit will be a condition of employment. Current employees not utilizing direct deposit must enroll by October 26, 2020.
Okay. And before I accept that as a friendly amendment, could you explain just one more time what that would help with? My understanding is I think my understanding of what you're saying is that's it's going to help the balance of the account be zero for, I guess, every monthly statement instead of having straggling checks.
Correct. What we have now is we have a payroll account, which payroll solutions tells us how much money to put into that account for payroll. When we transmit ACH, it's supposed to be a sweep account to where it stays zero at all times. What happens when you have employees that have checks, they're not clearing immediately. They could be weeks, they could be months, depending on the employee, or if there was a duplicate check or something like that. When it's ACH, the money will go in, and on payday, that money will go directly out. So that account will always stay zero. And it's a savings because we're not having to do payroll checks any longer.
It does sound like it would make things a little cleaner, although it may be a little inconvenient for some people. I guess I'll accept it as friendly amendment.
Thank you, Judge.
Somebody thinks I'm cuckoo, apparently. Is that your clock, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion of the administrative code changes?
The compensation plan is part of this, right, Judge?
Correct.
Can you tell me what changed in the compensation plan specifically? I have both copies in front of me.
Well, one thing, the changes to the compensation plan, I believe, were in regards to the fire personnel.
Yes.
And it was in order to allow fire personnel who transfer in from another, I believe it has to be a full-time department,
okay,
to receive years of credit
yes,
for their service in the other department, but their credit cannot be in an amount that would be more than a current firefighter employed by us with a similar number of years. I think that covers it correctly.
Is that the only change?
I believe so. The fire committee made that recommendation. Is there anything I'm missing there, guys?
Yeah, the only other one was on the fire chief. That was, we changed that since it's a
Oh, yeah, we made that salary, and yeah.
My next question was, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but I want to ask before we vote on this, the animal shelter director salary is subject to change at the end of this meeting. Is that something we need to address here?
Let me take a look.
There is a specific number in the compensation plan that I don't believe.
Yeah, you're correct.
It probably should read exempt as well.
Yeah, I will. Note for the record that we should strike the number 35,743.
Just put exempt/salary.
Yes, that should also be exempt/salary, as should fire chief. Okay, thanks, Travis.
Yes, sir. And then one more thing in regards to the animal shelter. Did we make a change to the animal shelter's holiday schedule? I know Addie's been asking for that for a long time.
No, I don't believe we've changed that. We talked about that when we were first looking at the admin code. And I think my thought and the general thought was it occurs so often that we don't need to address it in the admin code, but I am aware of it.
Well, for the record, she wants it addressed and has for quite some time, and apparently
I know.
it happens more than once a year. So. Are we not willing to entertain that?
Not right now. It's something I'd be glad to look at later, but I'm not ready to.
I mean, she asked us to look at it months ago, so I don't know what later is going to do for anybody.
Judge, let me interrupt for just a second.
Sure.
I'm not sure. Sometimes we see different screens from these video conferences, depending on the stability of the participant speed. But I think that it's required that everybody, all the panelists, not only be heard, but that they be seen by the public simultaneously. So I think we need to try to get. May take him a minute. He may just be struggling, but I know that he is.
Are you talking about Robert William?
I can see him again now, but he may have faded out in the signal there. I don't know what.
I'm not 100% sure, William, but I think that the Senate bill in regards to COVID may have said teleconferencing and may have exempted video. That may be something to look into for the future.
Judge, it's your meeting. I'm comfortable with you handling it that way if you want to.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion?
I had two.
Okay, Robert, I think you're trying to speak, aren't you?
Yeah, I got just a couple things. Again, apologize for the interconnection, but I had some things got struck by lightning Saturday, so this may have screwed this up too. I noticed back under the CSEP there were some penciled in changes. Is that something new, or is that just an afterthought, or what? Page 103 of 145, I think there was. There was another one or so in there. And the other thing is we have a description for coroner, and is that really necessary since it's a elected office, constitutional office?
Well, I believe what we did was basically took the pages relating to job descriptions from the old admin code. But if William will basically agree that it's not necessary to have a coroner description because of it being set by statute, I'd be more than happy to do anything to take more pages out of this document. So that's, William, do you have an answer for that?
I think the statutory description of the office is probably, since it's going to be superseding, I think it would be sufficient. I don't think you have to include it here.
Okay. And I'll also accept as a friendly amendment striking the job description for coroner. Any further discussion?
Judge,
Yes.
back to the animal shelter. I wasn't done with that.
Okay.
It happens next week on Labor Day.
Okay. What specific change would you suggest, Travis? And what section would you suggest it in?
Well, I don't know that I know the change, but what Addie's asked us to look at is, for instance, next week, their week runs Tuesday through Saturday. Their weekend is Sunday and Monday. So your Monday holidays, Memorial Day, Labor Day, July the 4th, if it falls on a Monday or any other holiday, they don't get the holiday. That's the concern.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to suggestions on how to correct it. I'm not trying to rewrite the book. I'm just, she's been asking ever since the admin code back in February. If we're doing it now, I don't know why we wouldn't entertain working that out for them. They're the only county department that doesn't get a holiday.
Does anybody have a suggestion as to how, it would seem to me we could just administratively say that the animal shelter is closed without putting it in the code, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
If that's possible, I wouldn't have an objection to that.
Judge, I think when we did the admin code back in February, we
I can't hear you,
adding to
Janet.
submit. Oh, shoot.
Okay, now I can hear you. I see you.
You don't want to listen to me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. We had asked Addie for the year to submit in writing those holidays that he wanted us to alter to reflect those days so we could take it to the court. That's what we had when we were working on this code before. So that's saying back in February, if she would submit those to us and we could bring it to the court instead of being so specific in the admin code.
I thought that we had talked about doing it administratively without putting it in the admin code. That's why I brought it up, but the specific details escape me at the moment.
Because each year it's going to change for her, possibly, given the holiday. So if she would look at those dates, we could go ahead and take care of that by year instead of just putting it in the admin code.
If you can do that, Judge, I think it would suffice. They're just trying to get their holiday. That's all they're trying to do.
Okay.
Judge, make to Travis's point, whatever y'all figure out, you can figure it out and talk with Addie, and it can be included in the second reading as an amendment.
Well, I think the point is we don't necessarily know that we have to amend the admin code, but if we need to, I suppose we could bring it up then.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, so I lost my internet and I had to change rooms. So who made the motions?
I made the first.
Okay. Who was the second one?
Was that one Davis? Was that you, Chris, or was it? Yeah,
No, I voted aye, but I don't think I seconded the motion.
Well, maybe it was Elkins.
Elkins, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know the last Elkins and Davis have been involved in a couple of the last two. I just don't know which order.
I don't remember if I did or not, but I'm okay assigning it to me.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to vote again?
No, I've got that. I had to change room.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me get this admin code out of my way. Okay. Next, we have item 13, consider approval of an order prohibiting negative spending. Do I have a motion?
Motion
So
approved.
moved.
Second.
That's a motion from Magistrate Davis, seconded by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Discussion. I will just make one point on this. If anyone has any concerns, since we will hopefully be hiring a new treasurer in the near future, I don't necessarily know that it's necessary to do this tonight, but I don't think it really hurts anything to do it tonight either. But we had the order, it was ready, so we went ahead and put it on the agenda. But any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. Item number 14, consider approval of an order to accept bids for 2 new single-axis dump trucks for the Clark County Road Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, just to open up discussion, I know that this came forward from the road committee. Either Magistrate Graham or Davis, would you like to address the need?
I don't mind speaking to it, Judge. My internet connection is stable, so I break off. I'll defer to Magistrate Graham. Can you all hear me okay, Judge?
So far, good enough.
Okay. These are this are items that were included in the equipment budget. They're going to be, and I apologize, I don't recall the exact specs. I know they're going to be considerably larger, Judge, and you may have those specs. They're going to be considerably larger than what we have, which existing dump trucks, if I recall, are largely converted moving trucks or box trucks. They were converted several years ago to dump trucks. Departments had a considerable amount of mechanical problems with just about all of them, and continue to have problems with them. So these will be larger dump trucks from our understanding on the committee, which will allow for usually longer runs on salting of roads and road work which they're needed for. So, and again, they were included. There were amounts included for these in the equipment line item. I think that was a line item that was used, Judge. You can speak to that as well, of course, but that's all I wanted to add at this time.
Okay. One question I have now, these trucks are similar to the one that we purchased and used during last year, correct? The one that's able to make the longer runs in the wintertime for salt dispersal.
I believe so, Judge. I'll defer to Joe on that. Joe, do you?
I believe it is.
Okay. All right, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Item number 15, consider approval of the first reading of an ordinance relating to the providing for a refund and/or credit of its occupational license fee for new employees as part of an economic development project by M&S Machining, Inc.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It's my understanding that this was a commitment that was made through the Industrial Authority in the past and kind of need to keep our word on it. So I'm in favor of it. All those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 16, consider approval of an interlocal cooperative agreement with Workforce Development.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Magistrate Constantopoulos. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries as well. Item number 17, consider approval of an order to increase the pay rate of Dina Pack, Administrative Assistant in the Judge Executive's Office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? That's Elkins and Constantopoulos. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion also carries. Item number 18, consider approval of an order to hire a temporary heavy equipment operator for the Clark County Road Department. I should note that this is a part-time position. I'm not sure if that's reflected in the order.
Temporary, is it also going to be part-time?
Yes, it's temporary part-time. So let's note that Caleb Chancellor as a temporary / part-time heavy equipment operator in the heading. I believe that'll cover it. There a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Or second?
Okay, motion by Davis, second by Elkins. Any discussion?
Judge,
Robert?
since this was effective the 24th, I'm going to vote nay as always, absent some emergency like we have with the upcoming firefighters. Again, it's just kind of ridiculous to hire somebody unless there's an emergency before we approve it.
I understand your point, Robert. We do have an injured person who this is replacing.
Judge, we recently did the same thing for an injured person. Is this the same injured person or a different one, or?
There have been more than one injury. Now, I can't say specifically as to Alan's thought process as to who was who.
And I would just second Magistrate Blanton on the date being predated. I don't understand that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
That motion carries. Item number 19, consider approval of an order to change the status of Ian Skinner from volunteer firefighter to a firefighter 3 for the Clark County Fire Department.
Motion approved.
Second. Second.
Listen, Davis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion will carry. Item 20, consider approval of an order to change the status of Kenneth Poole from volunteer firefighter to firefighter 3 for the Clark County Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Davis and Constantopoulos. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion also carries. 21, consider approval of an order to hire Kelly Smith as a firefighter 3 for the Clark County Fire Department. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Constantopoulos moves. Who was second? Was that Robert?
Magistrate Thompson.
No.
Magistrate Thompson. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 22, consider approval of an order to accept the resignation of a full-time administrative assistant in the office of the Clark County Attorney. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 23, consider approval of an order relating to the prior approved comp time and increasing compensation for the road department supervisor and the animal shelter director. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Constantopoulos. Their second.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Judge, this is Robert.
Yes, sir.
When this was brought to us before, I specifically asked that we divide this into two separate orders. That's not been done.
I'm sorry, I didn't recall that, Robert.
I can look at the tape and show you.
Well, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying I didn't recall it.
Okay. I think we ought to vote on them separately.
Okay, I think Robert is making a motion to amend to separate these into two orders.
I second that motion.
That's motion made by Magistrate Blanton, seconded by Magistrate Thompson. Any discussion of the proposed amendment?
Well, it's four actions, so how are we breaking up the four actions into two orders?
To me, it's just more paperwork and they all have to be done. So I just say soon do it all in one swoop.
I don't think he heard you, Greg.
Yeah, I was just, of course, I don't think Magistrate Constantopoulos doesn't sound like he's gonna accept the amendment, so I don't know what we have to the judge to rule from there.
Okay. Well, it seems to me like Magistrate Elkins is asking to further define the amendment. My thought would be that the suggestion is to simply make a division of the order, one of which relating to Miss Wills, another being a separate order relating to Mr. Curtis, and the respective amounts accorded to each be divided into separate orders. I think that's the best way I can think to word it, at least. But anyway, motion has been made and seconded to amend. Any discussion?
Judge, can you explain the division again?
Well, that's the tricky part. It would seem to me that if you were to divide this into two orders, let's say the first one would be in regards to Adriana Wills. You would leave the information regarding her in the first order, which would be has accrued 2,930.50 hours of comp time. You would omit the next phrase, which is whereas one current salary employee, Alan Curtis, has accrued 144 hours. Then going down to the next whereas, that would be in both. The next whereas on July 8th would be in both. The now therefore be it ordered by the Clark County Fiscal Court as follows. Section 1 regarding Adriana Wills would be in the first order. The section 2 would be removed and placed in a second separate order for Mr. Curtis. Section 3 would remain in the first order. Section 4 would be removed from the first order and placed in a separate order for Mr. Curtis. And section 5 would be present in both orders. That is my interpretation on the fly, but I think it covers the intent of the amendment.
I think you're right, Judge. I think that would suffice.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment as stated, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
It's the opinion of the chair that the nays have it. So back to the original order. There was a motion and a second. Discussion.
Judge, where'd you arrive at these numbers for the increase in compensation?
These numbers should represent, and I will state that Magistrate Constantopoulos did help with the calculation, but I believe this is a $1,500 raise plus a calculation of the hourly rate of each employee at 240 hours, which is the KRS limit for comp time. Is that
Judge,
correct?
Yes, those
Yes,
were,
sir,
they were
Matthew
done, they were
Davis.
done equally.
Judge, I think just for the benefit of the public, although many people are already aware of the comp time issue and the very bad past institutional practice of going way over the 240 hours that Kentucky law allows, but it may be helpful, Judge, if you could explain the reasons for these payoffs. Obviously, Ms. Wills's payoff is considerable. It's a large 5-figure payout, although I don't disagree that we owe it. But I think it would be helpful if we could give the public a little background, Judge.
But we have been over it before, but basically to summarize, previous employees and current employees, including department heads, for a number of years, going back further than I could tell you off the top of my head, I haven't researched it that far, we're allowed to accrue comp time on a yearly basis. It seemed to be somewhat unlimited, and there is a statute on point that limits comp time to 240 hours a year to prevent such accumulation, but apparently that statute was previously ignored. When we changed the administrative code, we took into account the law of the land, and we made it clear in the administrative code that would no longer be allowed. Unfortunately, or fortunately, according to your perspective, that still leaves employees who did have comp time in a position where we owe them the money. And I believe it's the opinion of the county attorney. And I think it's pretty clearly the law from everyone I've spoken to that comp time, once it has been calculated, is earned, and you can't take it back even if it was earned contrary to Kentucky law. Am I right about that, Mr. Elkins?
Judge, I was trying to follow what was being discussed, but just ask me that last part of your question one more time. Make sure I don't get off on the wrong track.
Okay, if comp time is earned by an employee of the fiscal court in excess of Kentucky law, in excess of the 240 hours, we still owe that employee the comp time regardless of that violation of the law, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So basically, we have to pay our debts, folks. I mean, that's the bottom line, whether we like it or not.
Judge, just to clarify, I know we addressed this, I think it was last year when we approved the admin code, that availability of any comp time for department heads or salaried employees has ended. Is that correct?
Yeah, salaried employees are no longer allowed to get comp time. Now, I do believe that there are some exceptions for firemen and maybe other personnel who are considered.
But these two employees, and I think that's kind of underscores the reason for putting them together and addressing this in one fell swoop and in one order. Neither of these two department heads would be eligible for accruing any further comp time after these payouts, correct?
They might be able to accrue up to the legal limit of 240 hours, but certainly not beyond that.
You took it away from them.
Are you talking about legally, or are you talking about whether they get comp time anymore? Because those are two separate questions.
I'm referring to any further comp time for the two.
No, and no one, we passed an order, I think last November, basically ending comp time for salaried employees.
That's what I wanted to clarify for everybody that may question what's going on here tonight and why we've singled out these two employees for these payouts, and in addition to that, the pay increases. Comp time's not going to be available to them any longer.
And I will say, as a side note, it's kind of as a fundamental fairness issue regarding these two employees and their salaries. Now, obviously, if at the very least, if you're used to getting hundreds of hours of comp time as part of your compensation, and then the fiscal court changes the rules to where you can no longer get any comp time, in some ways that could be viewed as a pay cut. The thing that frustrated me about the way comp time was formerly handled wasn't so much the fact that people got comp time as it was that there was so much comp time that it almost, hid a huge salary from the public. And I think if we're going to pay somebody, $90,000 a year, we should tell the public we're paying them $90,000 a year. We shouldn't hide it on a spreadsheet somewhere in comp time where nobody knows about it except, the people in the office. So in order to be upfront and honest with everyone, if we're going to make an adjustment, let's adjust their salaries. Let's let the public know about it and go from there. That's my thought.
Judge, if I might, I'd like to explain that just a little bit further, because I studied this in detail, because I had some heartburn. I want to go into a couple of points. First, I had considerable heartburn with paying an employee, as the order states, $52,924.83 in a one-time lump sum. But as I looked at it, the way comp time is paid out is if that employee carries those hours forward to the time that that employee retires, then you're paying the comp time based on the salary at the time of retirement, not at the time that the comp time was accumulated. So if you factor in that employee's salary and salary increases at 2% and 3%, 2% up until the time that employee has 10 years of service, and then 3% from that point forward, no other increases other than what's mandated by the compensation plan, we would have to, at the time of retirement of that employee, stroke a check for $89,819.39. That's the bare minimum. Now, if you add FICA and retirement on top of that, it would cost the county $48,593 in additional funds if we don't pay this now. So that's how I got on board with paying this now. Now, the other thing, and it's no fault of the county employee, because the county employee is not responsible for understanding the comp time statute, just like they're not responsible for understanding how much is deducted for FICA. They're not responsible for understanding how much is deducted for retirement, nor were they responsible to understand their comp time statute. So you can't blame the employee. You have to blame the administration that allowed this to happen. But if we allowed the employee that had that much comp time accumulated, if they accumulated the same number of hours every year until the time they retire, 488 hours a year, which is about 10 hours a week of comp time, this county would have to stroke a check for $259,148 at the time of retirement. Now you factor in FICA and retirement on top of that, it's an additional cost to this county of $341,324.10, bare minimum, just based on the 2% and 3% increases that would be awarded to the employee. That's no fault of the employee. I'm not saying that at all. It's the fault of the administration that failed to follow statute and when allowing comp time to be carried. So your point of, if we're going to pay an employee $90,000 a year, let's show that we're going to pay them $90,000 a year. Let's don't pay them $50,000 and then let the court keep $40,000 a year to spend, and we'll pay that out in 20 years. Don't worry about it. Let some other administration do it. It's just not fiscally responsible. It's not the way this court ought to do business. So for those reasons, I agree with eliminating the comp time for the salaried employees. And you're also correct in that you can't agree to pay an employee $10,000 a year and you can have 1,000 hours of comp time and then take away the comp time. So if the comp time's worth $10,000 and the salary's worth $10,000, we should now increase their pay to $20,000, which is basically what we're doing for both of these employees. We're just giving them what we would have given them in compensation time if we had continued that practice. We're paying our debt now as opposed to paying it 20 years from now, which is the right way to do it. It allows the public to see what we're doing. It does provide transparency that had not previously been provided. And again, no fault of the county employees. It's not their responsibility to understand statute. So for that reason, I'm going to support this order, whether it's combined, separated, or ever how we do it. I'm going to support this order. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Judge, let's talk about a few things. Let's start with, I am completely on board with paying out the comp time, and I think Magistrate Elkins hit it on the head and hit a home run with his explanation of that, and I am completely on board with that. I am concerned about the large sum that we're paying Ms. Wills, in that, do we have sufficient funds in the line item to cover that?
We don't currently have sufficient funds, but I will just include as a thought, if this passes, we're going to need to make a transfer.
And
I
Judge,
just point out that we just passed an order prohibiting negative spending, so I think we better practice what we preach.
Yeah. I agree.
But
Good point.
we're getting ready to spend it and it's not there, so I think we need to address that.
Magistrate Thompson,
Go for it.
I actually had I was gonna ask for a friendly amendment for that transfer because I knew we had to have it because payroll is coming. So I was gonna recommend, and do you mind if I go ahead and have the floor just for a minute?
Go right ahead. But I'm not done.
Okay, that's fine. But I just wanted to say, I wanted to offer a friendly amendment to that, to my original motion, that we take 50,000 from 0192009990, and that's contingent appropriations. And I actually spoke to Cheryl this morning in regards to that, and she agreed that that was okay to take from there. There was adequate funds. And then place that 50,000 into 0152051020 dog warden director, and make that part of the initial motion. So that way we do not go into negative spending and it's there for when they do payroll.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Thank you, Magistrate Thompson.
My backup, Judge?
Yep.
All right. What is this going to bring the animal shelter director's salary to if we approve this increase in compensation?
Cheryl, can you do that calculation for me quickly? I want to say it's somewhere in the ballpark of 43,000, but
He's gone.
oh, she left?
Yes.
Oh, and I got it here.
I think
I don't have the number in front of me, or I do the math, but I don't have it in front of me.
it will bring it to
43,399.20.
Say it again, Daniel, please.
43,399.20.
All right. Can you do the same math for the road supervisor?
Yes, absolutely. $63,467.20.
Thank you. This will be my opinion and my opinion only. I have no problem with the payout of comp time to Mr. Curtis. Can anybody tell me if he's used any comp time since he's been around? And I'll tell you why I'm asking that in a second.
Yes, he has used some.
Okay, so he is accruing 240, not just 144 in the year and a half he's been here.
Yeah, basically when we stopped the comp time was in November. It appeared to me in the winter time he would have likely reached 240.
Okay, well, the last two winters have been very insignificant compared to what they normally would be. So I'm all for the payout to him on that. As regards to his increase in compensation, and I'm disappointed that we couldn't separate these because that's one reason I wanted to do it. His compensation is fairly high as it is. I expressed my opinion on that when this court hired him as the road supervisor. He got a significant raise from what the pay plan provided to him when we brought him in, making good money. And quite frankly, when it comes to my needs, they're not met by the road supervisor. So I'm not in favor of an increase in compensation. So that's all I got.
I understand your point, Travis. Any
Then I'll
further
discuss
discussion?
the specifics of that in private, and I'll save it for that because it wouldn't be appropriate for open session.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Judge, I would just note, as to the raises for both these department heads, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think I am, that we're still under budget for what we approved for this fiscal year in both line items, both the line item for the road supervisor's salary, which I think was budgeted up to 65. What was that number, Judge?
65 is correct.
65. And that, what did we say this raise would bring his salary to?
63,467.20 is what Magistrate Constantopoulos said.
So we're still under couple thousand or close to it. And I think maybe on Adriana's, Miss Wills' salary, about the same roughly. So I wanted to point out, first of all, that obviously this is one of the many things we discussed when we looked at took the whole global view of the budget a few months ago, which we of course unanimously approved, including these potential salary increases, although I would certainly concede it takes a separate action by the court and separate order to approve those salary increases. And I know that's why we're here tonight and talking about this. But so we've contemplated for some time, Judge, I think that due to the evaporation of comp time or that going away for police department heads, that we needed to make this right for some employees, and certainly both these two. And I can say, having served on not only this court, but also the road committee, I thought Mr. Curtis, I think Mr. Curtis, and truly believe he's doing an exceptional job. He had my opinion, a pretty monumental task to rebuild that department, to set a lot of things right, to redo many things and processes. And I think the county's benefited from it. I've heard it many, many times, and not only from people in my district. Just had somebody a couple of days ago complimenting the work that he and the department were doing some road or some tree clearing, limb clearing, and then of course the uptick we've had, Judge, in paving and road repair. And I think as we've seen the last few weeks with the work they've been doing with the hot box and the roller, Judge, it's been tremendous amount of repair work going on at almost a breakneck pace. So I think I support it. I support the work he's doing, and we're still under budget. So I support it, Judge, and appreciate you getting this on the agenda.
Further discussion?
Judge, I'll just say one thing. I think that everything's really been talked about, that I was going to mention when we worked on this together, trying to come up with a fair way to compensate them for the hours of comp time. And as mentioned previously, all the other previous employees in these departments were receiving comp time, which was added up, that ended up being paid later, which would have inflated their salary if been paid out. So I think this is a more transparent way to do it. This puts an end to the issue that we've been trying to deal with. And actually, I know Magistrate Blanton can remember this, and Magistrate Elkins, we talked about the comp time issue on the last court, and it was just ignored. So I'm glad that we're finally addressing it, putting this issue to bed, and I will be supporting that. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
The opinion of the chair, the motion carries. Oh, I didn't realize magistrate comments was before a closed session. Magistrate comments. Hey, Janet, are you on there?
Yes, hold on.
Yeah.
Can you go into my office, and on my desk, there is a piece of paper with some notes on it about the homeless shelter and that Terry Davidson wanted me to talk about in magistrate comments. And I guess we'll start off with, let's see here, left to right on my screen. Magistrate Elkins.
Judge, I don't have anything.
Wow.
Surprised me even.
Okay. Magistrate Thompson.
I'm gonna let you make your homeless comments before I say anything, because that was on my list, but I'm gonna let you do yours first if that suits you.
Okay.
If you don't mind me stealing your thunder, depending on what you're gonna say, I'll go ahead. It's up to you.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm gonna, yeah, go ahead. You talk.
If everybody paid attention to the city commission meeting, the last one they had, which I think was last Tuesday, there was significant talk about the homeless population and what's going on. And it was mentioned that the county should maybe come to the table and help in that matter. And I know there's a lot of talk and maybe even a task force being talked about there, but I just would like to say, I think we should get involved in that. And I would like to see us have some representation there somehow, some way. I would certainly volunteer to do it. I deal with the homeless on 4 nights a week, and I know how big of a problem it is. So if we can be a help in that situation, I would volunteer to do that. And I'd like to see us jump on board with that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Magistrate Blanton?
Yes, Judge. I had a couple things. First of all, since we had the zoning change at the previous meeting, I had forwarded a letter. I sent you a copy and Mike Flynn a copy and asked that we review the county land use map because I think that zoning change that was recommended for approval was based on some information that wasn't 100% correct. And I think we need to look at correcting that land use map so that doesn't happen again. That's the first thing. So I didn't copy the entire court, but you do have a copy. If you want to share it, that's fine.
I've already read your letter.
Okay. Maybe that's when I was off a while ago when I was trying to get reconnected. Again.
No. I mean, I've read it. I read it in the office. I didn't mean I'd read it out loud.
Okay, you read it. Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention was, again, which is no news to you, and I know this particular agenda was like a moving target. It seemed like every day we had something else. So I would encourage you, if we set a deadline to get things to you for the agenda, that we stick with that so we don't have this moving target again. And then the other thing I'm going to share, if I can share my screen with you, I'm going to try this real quick. So let me see if it works. I can figure out what I want to share. Here we go, right here. It still says my internet connection is unstable. Well, let's try that. Okay. Can you see the screen?
It's black.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. My internet is just, I guess, from the lightning strike that night. But nonetheless, let me, I'll get back to you all then. What I had a picture of here was, I think I've lost everything. Yeah, I've lost. Nonetheless, let me tell you what I had a picture of. When I was walking around the courthouse with the, I'm trying to get reconnected here so I can see you again. And I was walking around the courthouse with the bidder for the courthouse repair work the other day. We walked around the courthouse entirely, and I was, quite frankly, I was ashamed of what I saw under the front porch of the courthouse. And that's what the pictures were of. It's an absolute disaster. Trash has probably been there for I don't know how long, but we need to talk about maintenance. If we need to talk about personnel, we absolutely have to do something. If we're going to award a contract for the exterior of the courthouse and have that go on, that's an embarrassment not only to me, but should be an embarrassment to everyone on the court. So again, I'm sorry I couldn't share the pictures, but I would encourage each of you to, next time you're going in front door of the courthouse, take a few steps to the side and look at that mess. It's an absolute disaster. That's all I've got.
Janet, can you see to it that we speak with, I believe we've only got one on staff right now. We still have one on leave, but if you could talk with him about that, I'd appreciate it. Magistrate Graham?
I have no comments at this time. Thank you.
Magistrate Davis?
Just a couple things, Judge. It was definitely live streamed to Facebook last night. Yes, last evening, but we had I thought a very productive EMS committee meeting with our counterparts from City Commission and Mayor Bertner. I think it was very productive. I don't want to take up any more time, but we'll have more details hopefully by the next meeting to share with the court, and they'll be sharing with City Commission. But I think we're making some real headway toward both increasing availability for transfers and also protecting the financial downside for the county. But to segue, Judge, that was an in-person meeting at City Commission, and I think it was very appropriately social distancing was appropriate. There were several people who come to watch the meeting. I think the participants were distanced appropriately. And Judge, it's my hope that in our next fiscal court meeting in September, I understand from you and Deputy Judge Townsend that we do have the live streaming capability now in the courtroom, that the judge, you'll schedule hopefully our next meeting in person in the courtroom. And I think tonight, everybody did an admirable job of trying to participate in the meeting, but, I had difficulty with my internet connection. Magistrate Blanton had a lot of difficulty with his. It's just, obviously it's a little more difficult to do business this way. We'll do it, and I'll certainly do it, Judge, however you organize the meeting. But I would just, again, ask to consider going to an in-person meeting with social distancing and hopefully live streaming to both maybe Facebook and also some other platform like YouTube for those that don't go to Facebook or have a Facebook account. So that's all I'll have for tonight, Judge. Thank you again.
We are currently working out the kinks, so to speak, in regards to live streaming, but we have done a couple of test runs, and my understanding is that Janet is conducting a test run right now. So we'll see how that turns out.
Thank you,
Magistrate Constantopoulos.
Yeah, Judge, I just want to say one thing in regards to the agenda being a moving target. The fire committee takes blame for a majority of that. We had a meeting set up at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. Of course, that's normally when agendas go out or supposed to go out, is that Friday. We were informed about the COVID situation with several of our firefighters, and we all met with you and Interim Chief Puckett and worked out several changes, which was on the admin code. And you did several emergency hires right then at that time, and got those orders over to get them taken care of. So a lot of that stuff was unplanned due to the COVID situation that we had at the fire department. So I just want to thank Deputy Townsend for her hard work on getting the changes to the admin code. We came straight up from that meeting, and she dropped everything to try to get those changes done. And I really appreciate all her hard work. And I just wanted to say thank you. And that's all I got.
Thank you.
Hey, Judge.
Yeah.
One thing, I failed to turn to the second page of my list. Can I ask you about one other thing?
Okay.
We received today an email with the condition report from the detention center. Should we make a note in the minutes that we've received that for August? Or I know that's important to Magistrate Elkins. I just want to see if everybody.
It is, and I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
And then on that same subject, I know you and I spoke the other day about it, but just bringing it back up to jail committee and maybe getting that back going and getting us back meeting again, and maybe making some changes there like you discussed. I can tell you that the staffing over there is tough right now. I was almost late for the meeting today because the jail had one in the emergency room who decided to take off running across the cow pasture. And we luckily apprehended him, but Taylor Doyle didn't have the adequate staff to send with this high-risk individual. One man with him, and he got away, and it ended up being a big mess and officer safety concerns and so on and so forth. So I'd just like the jail committee to get to meeting regularly every month so we can discuss things like that and address those issues. Thank you for giving me a second round. I apologize.
No problem. Back to the issue with the homeless. I have in front of me, and I didn't want to send out more stuff to confuse everyone even more so. So I'm just going to bring this up during comments. The Clark County Homeless Coalition is applying for an emergency solutions grant for emergency shelter components, national certification, nonprofit organizations. They have asked for the support of county government in regard to this grant, which my understanding is in excess of $100,000. So I'm going to move that the court approve my signing of this certificate of support. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion does carry. Just to echo what Magistrate Davis said, in regards to the meeting we had on EMS with the city last night. You know, sometimes, and Master Davis, you know, oftentimes will complain about committee work because it seems like committees are a way to slow things down. And it did take us a while to come to a logical conclusion. But last night we did come to an agreement with the city that I think is fair, that I think will help not only with funding issues on our side, but should also help with staffing issues and getting folks transferred quicker from the hospital. And it looks like it's going to be a real win-win. And so I look forward to having that on the agenda in the future.
All right, Judge, was that all in favor of that, or was there any no's?
I think that was unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session for personnel matters, subject to KRS Chapter 61.810F. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning to closed session, respond by saying aye.
Judge.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We will now move to a separate closed session.
Judge, do we just mute and
I'm going to mute my screen and stop my video.
What do we need to do to?
And it may very well be that we sign out. Tab, are you there?
Yes, everybody needs to leave this meeting and join your other meeting.
And you'll hold our spot, correct?
Yes, I'll hold the spot.
That's how it goes. Okay.
Thank you. So we'll leave the meeting now.
Yeah.
Okay. Little Tab,
Yes,
were we supposed to get another invite on this one? The
yes.
closed session?
The judge should have sent you another invite.
Okay, I don't think I've got that. I'll go back into my email and look for that.
Okay.
It came from Daniel. It came from Daniel.
Came from Daniel?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go and look for it. Thanks, Robert.
Are you there, Robert?
Okay.
Magistrate Blanton, can you hear me? Are you there?
I can hear you. I may not be able to see you, so I may have to get back off. I don't know what's wrong here. So if I leave because you can't see me, then that's why, because my internet is completely about gone, I think.
Okay.
I got kicked off a while ago on the closed session too, so I don't know. But I did get back on it.
All right.
You need to go ahead and go ahead.
Okay. No action was taken during closed session. We'll now return to regular session of the meeting.
Judge, if we're back in regular session, I would like to make a motion if that's okay.
Okay. What's your motion?
I would make a motion that effective September the 9th, 2020, we hire Miss Lisa Mayab as the Clark County Fiscal Court Treasurer at a compensation rate of $60,000 per year. And her office would begin at the end of the September the 9th Clark County Fiscal Court meeting. And at that time, Ms. Wills would time as treasurer would end and she would revert back to the Clark County Fiscal Court Finance Officer, or the Clark County Finance Officer, I'm sorry. And I would ask that the county attorney had draft an order to reflect that motion.
Second.
Motion has been made by Magistrate Elkins, seconded by Magistrate Thompson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations, Alicia.
Judge, before we adjourn, I would like to thank the members of the committee to select a treasurer. I think the work was done fair and honest, and good work was done. And I'd like to thank Magistrate Blanton and yourself for being a part of that.
Thank you for your participation as well. We had several more than qualified candidates, an amazing group of people. If anyone who did not make the cut, so to speak, is watching tonight, don't take it as anything personal. We have an exceptional candidate tonight that we have chosen as our treasurer. All that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. The meeting stands adjourned at 8:20 p.m. Have a good night, guys and girls.